What's up, everybody? You are listening to Trail Tales episode number 88. My name is Kyle O'Grady. I am a thru hiker, I am a peak bagger, I am a huge hiking nerd, and every single week on this podcast I chat with other hiking nerds about their experiences on the trail. I'm doing something right now with this introduction that I don't normally do. I am recording it right after I finished recording the episode. I usually record it a few days later, but I literally just finished talking to this week's guest, a man named Will Peterson, who currently holds the unsupported FKT for the White Mountains Direttissima, which, in case you don't know, I actually forgot to ask him to explain this in the episode. It's been covered on other episodes too, but in case you don't know, the Direttissima is basically when you hike all 48 of the 4,000 footers in the White Mountains in one shot. So you essentially through hike the 4,000 footers in the Whites. It's an incredible feat. It's incredible to do a Direttissima, period, no matter the time it takes you. The fact that he did it so fast is just absolutely insane. It blows my mind. We talk all about that. We also talk about his through hike of the Appalachian Trail. He through hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2019. He absolutely crushed it too. I found out in this episode that he did the Appalachian Trail in less than 4 months, which is really, really impressive. Just an all-around badass hiker. And we also talk about our moms quite a bit at the beginning because both of our moms went to high school together and grew up together, it turns out. So that's pretty funny. Anyways, Will Peterson, complete badass hiker. It was a great time talking. And Will, when you hear this, dude, let's do it again soon. Before we get into the conversation here, I need to say a few things. First of all, a huge, heartfelt, incredibly gigantic thank you to everybody who donated to my 46 Climbs team. The Kyle Hates Hiking 46 Climbs team is currently the #1 fundraising team for the entire organization, for the entire 46 Climbs event. So incredible. Over $10,000 in like a month. That's insane. My YouTube subscribers and these Trail Tales listeners, you guys are the best. Like, seriously, the freaking best. I almost didn't even fundraise this year because I felt like it was too late, because last year I did it like months in advance, and I think it was like $2,000 or $3,000 last year. $10,000, that's just insane. #1 team, so crazy. Thank you so much to everybody who donated. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it so much. Thank you guys. Thank you. A couple other things. Instagram, go follow me on Instagram at Kyle Hates Hiking. Go check out my YouTube channel, also called Kyle Hates Hiking. If you want to help support this show, if you listen week after week, except for the past couple weeks because I didn't post till last week for a couple weeks. But anyways, if you want to help support this show, there's a couple things you can do. First thing, leave a 5-star review on either iTunes or whatever your podcast platform is. That really helps the show. Trail Tales has been growing ever since it started, and it's kind of taken off a little bit now. It's pretty cool. So go leave a 5-star review. That really helps me. If you want to help even more, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/trailtales. If you want to toss me a couple bucks each month, you'll get invited to a video chat with me and a bunch of other hiking nerds. You'll get a couple stickers. You'll get access to these little bonus videos I do where while I'm driving, I just talk about a random hiking topic by myself. It's pretty fun. So yeah, go check that out, patreon.com/trailtales. I would really appreciate it. And of course, I gotta spend some time talking about this episode's sponsor, Sawyer Products. You know who they are. You love their products, hopefully just as much as I do. You love them just as much as I do. It's pretty cool because I feel like Sawyer is pretty much a household hiker name at this point because their stuff is so good. But what I'm going to talk about today is, again, something you've probably heard me talk about before, either on YouTube or on this podcast, but their permethrin spray. So if you don't know what permethrin is, it is something you should definitely know about because it helps you stay safe from Lyme disease and other tick-borne illnesses as well, because permethrin kills ticks. It doesn't just repel them, it kills them. And the reason I like using permethrin is because it's not like a bug spray where you have to spray it on your clothes every so often, every couple hours, or you have to spray it on your skin. With permethrin, you basically spray it on your clothes one time, and then it lasts for either 6 washes or 6 weeks, whichever comes first. And another great thing about Sawyer's permethrin is that it's completely odorless after it dries. So unlike DEET or some other bug sprays, when you spray it on your skin or on your clothes or whatever, pretty sure you're not supposed to spray DEET on your skin, but I've definitely done that before. It doesn't smell once it dries. So when you first spray it on your clothes, when you hang them up on the clothesline or whatever, you're going to smell it then. It doesn't really smell that bad, but you're definitely going to notice it. But once that stuff dries, it takes a couple hours or whatever, you're not going to notice any smell at all. And like I said, it's going to be effective for a long, long time. And I also want to stress this. I just said it a few seconds ago, but permethrin doesn't repel ticks. It actually kills them. So it will literally, yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, if the tick crawls onto your clothing, it will die, which is a good thing because ticks suck. And you want to be sure to spray your shoes and your socks. Don't just spray your shirt and your shorts or whatever. You got to spray your shoes and your socks as well. That's really important. And the reason is because it's actually been proven that you're more than 70 times less likely to get bitten by a tick if you're wearing permethrin treated shoes and socks. A lot of ticks hang out pretty low to the ground, and so they crawl onto you from your shoes or your socks. That's really, really important. Keep yourself safe from Lyme disease, guys. It's actually one of the fastest growing infectious diseases in the United States. It's one of the most misdiagnosed diseases in the United States as well, and tick-borne diseases have actually more than tripled in the past 15 years. 300,000 plus cases of Lyme disease reported every single year to the CDC. It's not a good thing. It's not a good look. So keep yourself safe. Check out Sawyer's Permethrin. You can find it in just about any outfitter, and you can also find it online. Amazon's got it. Walmart's got it. All the outfitters have it, obviously. Or you can just go to Sawyer.com and buy it there as well. So thanks so much to Sawyer for making cool products. Thanks to Sawyer for supporting the show, keeping this going. And with that said, let's get into it. Episode number 88 of Trail Tales with Will Peterson, Appalachian Trail class of 2019, and the current unsupported FKT holder of the White Mountain Diretissima. All right, episode 88 of Trail Tales. I'm back after a month of not doing these episodes. Took a little break there. Felt good. But Will Peterson, what's up?
What's up? What's going on?
Not very much. We have a lot to talk about today. Will recently set the, make sure I get this right, the unsupported FKT of the White Mountain Diretissima. That's a mouthful. Did I get that right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. I almost said self-supported, but that's the difference between those two has been explained like so many times on the show. I should probably remember exactly what it is, but I don't. But I know I read unsupported today, which is super, super badass. So we're going to talk about that a lot today. I've got a bunch of questions about that. And Will's also done some other stuff too. But before we get into any of that, we got to talk about our moms, dude. So for everybody listening, I don't know if my mom still listens to these episodes. She listened to like the first at least like 60, I swear. Like she was pretty good about it. I don't know if she still listens now. She hasn't mentioned it in a while, so maybe she finally got sick of hearing me ramble on here. But so Will and I haven't really met, but technically we kind of have met because when we were kids, and I mean like literally, I was probably like 4 or 5 and you were like a couple years younger. So like we were like kids. We did meet because both of our moms, how do they know each other again?
They were either good friends in high school or college. I think it might have been high school.
Did your mom grow up in Presque Isle?
Yeah.
That's what it is then. Yep.
Yep.
That's
yeah,
so
they were
funny.
They were part of the same like popular girl friend group.
Ooh.
I don't know if she'll be upset about me for saying this, but they had like they had a nickname for their friend group called the 9 Bitches.
Oh my god, I've never heard this before. I'm gonna have to say that to my mom. That's so funny.
Oh, it's great. They still they have a Facebook chat still that goes by that name. It's awesome.
I feel like I've vaguely heard her say that before. That's so funny. Okay, so I didn't know that your mom grew up in Presque Isle too. Presque Isle, Maine, everybody. Up in the county, Aroostook County, way the hell up there. That's pretty funny. Damn. So yeah. we did meet, but we were really, really young. And the only reason I know that we met, I mean, I knew our moms were friends because that's kind of how we connected way back when this show was just first starting. But the way I found out that we had actually like physically been in the same place is because it's probably about a month ago now, I went down to South Carolina to visit my parents. And when I was staying with them, I was flipping through some scrapbooks my mom had, and there were some pictures of us from like 1999 or something. I think it was 1999. And one of the names, it was like a picture of me and a bunch of other people. I didn't recognize any of them. And then I saw the name Will Peterson. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's probably like the Will. So that, I think that's so funny.
That's absolutely wild.
And I like sent you the picture. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is you, but I'm not sure because you're like fucking 2 years old or whatever. So, so good. Well, anyways, moms aside, we're going to actually talk about some hiking today because turns out, despite the fact that we met when we were that young and then never talked at all until, probably like a year and a half ago or whatever.
Yeah.
We've both done some pretty cool hiking. I would say that you've done some even more intense shit than I have. I wouldn't just say that. That's pretty obvious because an FKT of the Direttissima, whatever it is super badass. But before we get into that, why don't we just why don't you just go ahead and like say who you are besides the fact that you met me when you were 2 or whatever, and talk about what your hiking experience was prior to the Direttissima. I know you hiked the AT, and I'm not sure if you did anything before that, but yeah, just go ahead and give your introduction spiel, if you will.
All right, so my name is Will Pearson. I go by Sisyphus on the trail. I started hiking a few years ago, a couple years before I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I decided to hike the AT. I'm a few years younger than Kyle. Still in college right now, but I decided to hike the AT as like a sort of gap semester in college. That was really my first big backpacking trip. I'd done one 7-night trip before that, but the AT was my first, the first trip where I needed a resupply and stuff like that. And then outside of that, I've just been working on the New England 67. And I was supposed to do the PCT this year, but that got derailed because of COVID, and decided to go after something local that I could do without resupplying, and that led me to the Direttissima. And yeah, that was sort of the impetus to go after that.
Gotcha. Are you a senior? Like, was your plan to graduate and then do the PCT?
No, I'm a junior. So I was gonna try to fit it in like the 4 months of summer.
Oh, okay. You had messaged me about this once. I forgot about that. That's ambitious. I was gonna say like it'd be kind of funny if you were gonna take like more time off of school to go do the PCT, but then COVID canceled the PCT, so you're like, oh shit, I might as well go back to school. But yeah, it makes sense. You're just gonna do it during the summer. But obviously, yeah, you were gonna do it this year, weren't you? So that's not gonna happen. That sucks.
Yeah.
But the Direttissima is still pretty badass. Did you have any experience with like attempting any sort of like really, really, really fast hike before this? I guess actually a better question, how fast did you do the AT?
So I did the AT in 3 months, 24 days.
So
which
you
is
did
like,
it fucking fast. That's crazy.
It was pretty fast, but I didn't do any huge mile days really. Like my biggest day on the AT was like 32 and a half, which isn't like, I feel like most people
it's a pretty big mile day. I
mean,
it's not like absurdly like, crazy, but I don't think most thru hikers aren't doing, regular 30s, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like I didn't do the 4-state challenge or any of those like really big mile challenges, but I did like all of there was a stretch from about Pennsylvania through Vermont where I was just consistently doing like 28 miles a day.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like how you were able to...
I think that gave me a really good baseline of just being able to keep on trucking like sunrise to sunset.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's crazy. Fucking under 4 months. That's nuts, dude. Holy shit. So you obviously were like pretty or about as prepared for the Direttissima FKT as you possibly could be without having done any prior FKTs, I guess. So that's pretty crazy. Did you also, like, when you were back on the AT, did you also just not take as many zeros or time in town, I guess?
Yeah, we so I took 4 0 days on the AT, and that was like
That's
four was
it?
yeah.
4 zeros, holy shit.
The plan was to take 2, and then I ended up getting hit by really bad weather, like right when I got to Maine, and my house was like 15 minutes from the trail. So I was like,
word.
well, I might as well just wait out the next couple days at my house. But yeah, it would have been cooler if I'd only done 2, but
Dude, that's
it's 4.
crazy. Freaking, oh my God, 4 zeros, what the hell? Did you like plan on doing it at that pace, like such an aggressive pace from the start, or is that just kind of like what you felt like doing once you got out there?
It was kind of what we felt. So I hiked the trail a large part with my buddy Refugee, who went to high school with me, and our plan going out there was to hike it in 5 months. But just when we got out there, we decided to. Our plan was to do as many. Our plan was to do it as quickly as we could while not feeling like we were like torturing ourselves.
Right.
And so we just started building up, and like as we got farther north, it just looked like we were gonna finish quicker than 5 months.
Finish quicker than 4 months, dude. Holy shit, that's crazy. It just blows my mind whenever I talk to someone who did the trail faster than me, because I did it, a little bit faster than average. I did like just over 4.5 months. And I feel like genuinely I could not have done it any faster. I feel like that's about as fast as I could have possibly done it. And so that's just crazy. You must be in pretty damn good shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just like what your body's comfortable with,
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know. I don't like say that I did the trail in sub 4 months, and like I don't really look at that as I don't know, something to gloat about. It's like everyone just is out there for different reasons. Not everyone's looking to do it in as quickly as they can,
That's definitely true. I guess you must have been passing a ton of people every single day. And the reason I know that is because I was passing a ton of people every single day, and I wasn't hiking, even close to your pace. And so did it ever like tempt you to slow down a little bit, just like blowing by all these groups of people that are like taking it easy, maybe partying a little bit, taking their time or whatever, smelling the roses, as a lot of people like to say very cringily. Cringily, is that a word online?
Dude, it so did. It so did. Because we'd, like, multiple times on the trail, we'd run into these awesome, like, trail families and start hanging out with them for, like, a couple days. Like, sometimes groups would speed up for a couple days to hike with us, and then, like, we'd end up running away from groups. And I was like, man, like, we could just slow down and hang out with these people.
Yeah.
But
did you ever end up hiking, besides your hiking partner, did you ever end up hiking around anybody else that was going at a similar pace, or was it mostly just kind of group to group keep passing people?
It was pretty much group to group to group. We like there were several groups that we latched onto for like 200 or 300 miles, but nothing held together for longer than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, which makes sense because you're just hiking so damn fast. It's just like,
that's
crazy, man.
It was kind of unfortunate. Like, so once Refugee ended up getting off trail in Connecticut, there was this group of people hiking pretty much exactly my pace that were like 4 or 5 days ahead of me, and I just like could not catch them all the way to Katahdin. I was always like 2 or 3 days behind them and just never.
So they must have been hiking pretty fast too then, huh?
Yeah, they were hauling.
Definitely. What happened to your buddy? Connecticut? Oh, that sucks, dude. That's like it is a lot of the trail. Like that's a very, in my experience, uncommon place for somebody to have to leave the trail. I guess I feel like most people either leave at they usually just leave at the beginning, honestly, maybe the first like 500 miles. So the fact that he made it all the way to Connecticut and then left, that sucks. What happened there?
Yeah, it was kind of a shitty situation because it wasn't anything he could have done about it, but he got a stress fracture, and
I hate hearing these stories, dude, when people get injured that far into it. No, God.
Yeah, I know. It sucks because like his foot started hurting like way back I think the first time I remember him mentioning it was at like Delaware Water Gap in Pennsylvania. And he, like when we got to New York, it started hurting quite a bit more. So we got off trail and went to like a quick care place and got him x-rayed. And the people at the quick care place were like, no, you're fine. Just keep hiking.
Really?
Yeah. And so like by the time we got to Connecticut, he just like couldn't walk on it anymore and got another x-ray. And then it was like very, very cracked.
That's interesting. It sucks for sure. That's interesting because I feel like I've heard stories, like plenty of stories of hikers who go to the hospital for various reasons, or just go to urgent care or whatever to get checked out. And the doctors always tell them not to keep hiking, and then they do anyway. But I've never heard a story where they went to get checked out and the doctor's like, oh, you're fine to keep hiking. And then they couldn't keep hiking. So that's, I mean, it's kind of funny, but also obviously like it sucks too.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate to hear, oh God, I hate to hear like a story of someone being that far into a hike, because usually the conventional wisdom is once you get that far into a hike, like your body's in shape and like you're good to go. But to have like a stress fracture too crop up that far into the trail, that's not good. I don't like to hear that stuff. So that sucks for your friend. I remember, so before you even left, going back to the mom thing, my mom had contacted me. This was when Trail Tales was in its like complete infancy. Like this was probably the first couple months. I don't remember exactly when, but maybe December or January of
2019.
Right yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I remember my mom telling me, "Hey, Doreen's son started a podcast. You should go. It's about hiking, and like you're gonna hike the AT. Like you should go listen to it."
And you're like, "Yeah, whatever, mom." Like that's so funny. And she had reached out to me. Also, shout out to my mom for getting me an early listener there. Like literally, I remember I had asked you that at the time. I was like, "Did you actually find this on your own, or did you find it like through the moms?" And you're like, "Yeah, through the moms." But that's awesome. But anyways, I remember her telling me like, "Oh, my friend's son is going to be doing the AT. Like, do you have any advice for him or whatever?" She's like, "Oh, he's going to hike it with a friend." And the first piece of advice that came to mind, and this is still a piece of advice that I would stand by, but obviously it's not true 100% of the time, is generally starting with another person, especially when you're not experienced hikers. If you're already two through hikers and you have similar paces, and that's a little bit different. But generally, if you're both beginners, we'll say, starting a through hike together probably isn't the best idea, because you have no idea like what your paces are going to be or how you're going to get along and those things. And so one of the things, I don't know if this was ever relayed back to you at all, but one of the things I had told my mom, tell your mom to tell you, is that starting with another person might not be the best idea. And if you do it, just be prepared to continue on without them if something goes wrong. And the fact that you guys made it all the way to Connecticut together tells me that, though, again, I still stand by that advice most of the time, it's not always true, because something must have worked there. So I guess, I'm not even going to ask a specific question. Can you just talk about that a little bit, kind of riff off of that?
Yeah, I definitely remember getting that advice. And that actually, so prior to getting that advice, we hadn't talked about what happened if we had really different hiking paces, or what would happen if, one of us got off trail and the other didn't, and all that kind of stuff. So like we talked about it, and we had the same sort of mindset of like, we're out there together, but it is our own hike, and like we have to, like, if the plan was to stay together as long as we could, and that we were this sort of was built into us doing the trail quicker. Is like we decided that unless there was something really wrong with us, we wouldn't cut our mileage just because we didn't want to, Mm-hmm. So like mentally we were dragging each other along, where like if we planned a 26-mile day and one of us didn't feel like doing 26, the other would sort of drag you along for the 26. But it was like I don't know, we also got really lucky. Like we had very similar mindsets going in.
That's really important, obviously.
Yeah, we had very similar mindsets. We didn't want to spend a lot of time in towns. like we have very similar hiking paces, which is also just like very lucky.
Oh yeah.
And like I know totally. Like if I were giving someone advice, I'd be very cautious about starting the trail with someone, especially like he and I had gone on one hike together before doing the AT.
That's actually crazy, dude. That's it's cool though. Like I guess, you know, like you just said, you did get a little bit lucky because that's hard. That's hard. I feel like the chances are low that two people that have never hiked together before, starting together would end up not only getting along, but also just having a similar style and a similar pace like that. So that is it's cool, honestly. And it goes to show that it does happen sometimes. It's just not common, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, it's not like it was like we got along all the time, you know. That's another thing people need to be prepared for. It's like, and we like talked about this before we got out on trail. It's like sometimes we're just gonna fucking hate each other.
Yeah,
but that's like not a big deal.
You guys were smart about it though, man. Like talking about this stuff beforehand. That's another big piece of advice I would give to if you are gonna start with somebody in a similar situation like Will's. Definitely talk this stuff out beforehand and be prepared to follow through with the things you talk about. Because if you just go in blind, like, oh, we'll be fine, you just don't think about it or worry about it, that's when the issues are going to arise. Because if you talk about it, at least if those things do come up, differences in pace or hiking style, at least you've been able to come to terms with it, I guess. Come to terms with the fact that maybe you're going to end up splitting up or someone's going to have to compromise or something like that. So good for you guys, honestly, for working that out. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It always sucks to me that he had to get off trail.
Yeah.
I hope that like at some point he'll get back on there and invite me to go with him. But we'll see.
There you go. Had you ever hiked in the Whites before you got there on the AT?
I'd done like 18 or something of the mountains of the 48.
Okay, so you've done, not a ton, but enough to to know like what it's like there, obviously.
Yeah, I'd done a Prezi Traverse. I think that was like my biggest hike ever, and I thought that was just like the pinnacle of all hikes, you know.
I mean, for most people, it is like that's no joke for sure. All right, I guess now that I kind of transitioned into the White Mountains talk there, we should probably continue down that rabbit hole. So my natural first question for the Diartissima FKT subject would be, why did you do it? But you kind of answered that already because you said you were going to do the PCT, but then that got canceled because of COVID, obviously. And then you wanted to do something close to home. So I guess one of the reasons why I asked you that previous question there about having hiked in the Whites before is just because I wasn't sure if there's any sort of like, I don't know, connection there or any reason why you wanted to go there specifically, because there is other things you could have done in the Northeast that would be a reasonable, safe, experience, despite COVID.
Right.
So I guess if maybe there isn't more to it, maybe I'm overthinking it, but is there anything more to your decision to go for the Diartissima FKT?
I've always been a big fan of the Whites. Like a lot of my formative hiking experiences were in the Whites, like my first solo backpacking trip and my first big day hikes and all that kind of stuff. But also, when I started looking at local things and local FKTs that I could go after this summer, the list like wasn't all that long about things that I would, one, like be passionate about, and two, like actually have a chance at beating. Like I looked at like the Hutt Traverse or like the Pemi Loop, and it's like I'm not a speedy person. I can't run 10-minute miles over like that kind of terrain. So it was the Diartissima is cool in the sense that like it's not really a speed competition. It's more of like a how many miles a day can you hike competition.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That's a cool thought, because that's something I haven't really ever thought about, to be honest, because I don't really have any particular interest in doing FKTs and stuff. But so you're saying you weren't really, you must have been hiking at a decent pace, in order to do 40 plus miles in a day, but you weren't like running. Yeah, you were just like hiking still. Yeah,
there were like, so the Diartissima has some out and backs, like like once you climb Franconia Ridge up to Haystack, and then you do like a big out and back to go get Liberty and Flume.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a bunch of sections like that where you can drop your pack and do a little bit of trail running, which is nice because it sort of like mixes up the muscle groups that you're using.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most, I'd say like 80% of it was probably hiking, and I think my overall elapsed like pace throughout a day was usually 2.6 miles an hour, so not crazy fast.
That's oh man, that actually blows my mind a little bit. So you were just hiking for long fucking hours, then you just weren't sleeping basically. If you're hiking at that pace for most of the time, you must have just been putting in like just hours and hours and hours. Yeah, usually I was on trail at least an hour before sunrise and wouldn't stop until at least an hour after sunset, with like very minimal stopping during the day. That's insane, dude. So I'm gonna back up just for a second here. You had mentioned, while you'd mentioned you were looking for an FKT of some sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that? Why did you want to go for an FKT versus just doing like a cool through hike or a cool hike somewhere?
It's a great question. I think it's mostly ego, honestly. like I don't know. I wanted like my biggest reason to go out on the AT was to like push myself and prove to myself that I could do it. And, I did it. And then the next step was sort of like, I guess Shane has a saying that he said to me a couple times Shane's refugee, by the way. He had a saying that he said to me a couple times on the AT, which is that I'm not much interested in doing things that I already know I can do. And so it's like, I know I can do a through hike or like a big section or what have you. It's like, I don't know if I can beat someone else's record or like hike 40 miles a day or whatever. So that was kind of like, if I set this arbitrary goal that's ridiculously sort of out of the bounds of what I've done so far, then that'll be a good challenge to push myself through.
That's awesome. And it's a very different perspective on hiking than I have. I'm guessing there's a lot of people that are listening that share your perspective, so I think it's really cool that we're kind of talking about this. But for you, it's just hearing you say that, because I'm thinking about doing another long through hike sometime in the near future, hopefully. And for me, it's really not about pushing myself any more than I did on the AT. In fact, like I said a few minutes ago, I don't know if I could have done the AT any faster than I did. Like, I feel like that was about, and I don't know, maybe I need to push myself more, but I felt like that was like my limit, I guess. And when I think about doing another through hike like that, I don't. So you just said a second ago, you're like, I know I can do a through hike. And, I kind of wanted to do something even tougher. Like, I kind of wanted to push myself to the next level is what it sounded like. And so for me, it's just totally different, because I'm like, I feel like I will be lucky to be able to complete another through hike, if that makes sense. So I feel like I don't have any particular desire to push those boundaries any higher than I already have, I guess. And you do. And I think that's cool, honestly. And, I guess maybe I'm getting way ahead of myself now, but, I'm just curious what would be next after you did the through hike. Okay. You can do that. You did the FKT. What comes after that, like, I'm sure I don't know, maybe you have thought about it, maybe you haven't, but I'm just wondering like what the next progression is there.
Yeah. There are a couple things.
Sorry to cut you off again, but just to finish that question. And I don't even need something specific. I'm not looking for like this trail or whatever, this FKT, just in general, like where do you go after that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And also I just want to preface this with like, there's so many, I don't think either of us have this mindset, but like there's so many people out there with the mindset of like there's only one right way to like do a trail. And I like, however you want to do stuff is like completely, like the outdoors is just a place where you do whatever you want to do. So it's like, it's not like me wanting to go fast is the right way to do it, or someone not wanting to go fast is the right way to do it. Like, just do whatever you want to do. That's the correct way to use the outdoors. I mean, don't shit and not bury it, but like
yeah, but I know what you're saying. I think most people probably understand that too.
But so there are a couple things that I've had in mind. It's like, from the beginning, the AT wasn't really about seeing how fast I could do it. It was more just about like pushing myself but not killing myself. So I think if I did another like long through hike, like I really want to do the PCT at some point. I don't know when, but I think if I
don't
did
think
that,
anybody knows when right now.
yeah, no. But I think if I did that, it would probably be in the guise of like, how fast can I do this?
Okay, interesting.
And then the other one that I have is, which is more, I think, more attainable in the short term because it's less of a time commitment and like more local. I've never gone more than 45 miles in a day, and going 100 miles in a single push really intrigues me.
Oh, there you go.
My friend and I have been poking around at the 100-mile wilderness supported record, and so I think we might go after that next summer.
Dude, that's crazy. Damn. Dude, I feel like if you, and we're gonna talk more about the Diartissima in just a second, but I feel like if you were able to do that, there's definitely like some random short trails, like a lot of the ones I cover on this show. Just around the Northeast, for instance, like maybe the Northville Placer Trail or the Cranberry like 50 or something like that. But then again, I guess 50 miles, that could be like a run almost. I don't know. Again, I don't really know much about FKTs, but I feel like if you could crush the Diartissima like that, you could probably crush some other shit too. But
I was actually what was the I listened to an episode the other day where the trail starts at Monadnock and ends...
yeah, Monadnock Sunapee Greenway Trail.
Yeah, I think the FKT for that's doable. I don't think it's super fast yet. I don't think anyone's like really gone after it yet. But
do you remember what it is?
I don't know. Hold on.
That's all right.
Keep talking and I'll look it up.
People are probably clicking off as I do this nonsense. All right, here we go.
It's the unsupported is just under 12 hours.
That's pretty fucking fast though, damn. I thought you were gonna say like I don't know. I honestly don't know what you were gonna say, but 50 miles in 12 hours, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty quick.
That's easier for you to put in perspective than it is for me, because the most I've ever done in a day is like 30. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not like super quick. That's the problem. It's more like I can keep my legs churning for a long time.
So you could do it in one shot, but just doing it under that time might be difficult.
Right. That's the nice thing about the 100 miles. Like the 100-mile record is at like just under 20-minute miles, so it's more like a fast hiking pace. And if you run like half of it just at a slow running pace, then I think you could have a good shot at it.
Damn, dude, you should go for it. That's pretty cool. Plus, it's just a cool section of trail too.
It really is.
As you know. All right, so we're already, more than halfway into the episode. I haven't even asked you what your actual time was for the Diartissima FKT, so I should probably start there. What was the record before you broke it, and then what was your time?
So before I did it, the self-supported record was
wait, unsupported or self-supported?
So I did it unsupported, but I was like, my goal was to beat the self-supported time because that's the fastest anyone's ever done it.
Sure.
His name is Andrew Drummond. His time was 5 days, 23 hours, 58 minutes. And then the unsupported record was like 7 hours slower than that, so like 6 days, 7 hours. And then mine was 5 days, 13 hours.
That's fucking, like, that's just stupid. Like, I don't even know. I just don't know how that's even possible. So, can you kind of break down, you don't have to go into like super detail, but just like what each day was, where you I kind of know the answers to some of these questions just because I read your article today, but for the benefit of everybody listening, where did you start from?
So I started over at Moosilauke at the bottom of the Beaver Brook Trail. And the first day consisted of, the first half of the day was traversing the Kinsman Ridge Trail, essentially. Kinsman Ridge?
Yep.
I think
so. I don't know.
So you hit Moosilauke and then the Kinsmans and then Cannon. And then I went across the street, climbed up Franconia Ridge, and the second half of the day was getting Flume, Liberty, Lincoln, Lafayette, going across to Garfield, and then finishing the day by like going down into the Pemi Wilderness to like set up for getting Owl's Head the next morning.
Freaking Owl's Head just throws everything off, doesn't it? Just
Dude,
down there by its own.
Yeah. It adds like 13 miles for that one mountain.
Just for one shitty little peak, yeah. Freaking, oh, dude, that's insane. That's so much. Like, you say it so casually, but it's just like...
Oh no, like, that day one of the Diartissima is my biggest day of doing anything ever. That was my 44.5 mile day.
And when you finish 44.5 miles, geez, when you finish that first day, obviously you were tired, so I'm gonna ask you how you were feeling, but I'm saying more like mentally, like at that point, were you like still like, okay, like I'm gonna fucking crush this? Were you like more confident than when you started that day, or were you less confident? Can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I actually, my successful attempt was my second attempt. Earlier in July, I went out and failed pretty miserably.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like there were just so many things that went wrong on my first attempt. Like the weather was, I didn't read the weather correctly. I got lost like 2 or 3 times. I overshot the herd path to Owl's Head is so obvious, and I overshot it by a mile.
Oh geez. Oh damn. like you were like on, I forget the name of the trail there, like the trail down like in the valley, and you just missed the herd path.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
It was bad. So I ended up bailing after like 95 miles on the first attempt. But that made it so like I knew exactly where to go for the first 2.5 days of my second attempt. So like, and the first attempt showed me that I could like do it physically. So at the end of day one on the second attempt, I was just like so happy because
nice.
I was like, I hadn't made any mistakes. I'd made it like where I wanted to for the day. Yeah, it was good.
That's good to hear. And then take me through like your next day, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, so day 2 started out with just like a big out and back to go get Owl's Head. And then you went out to the Galehead hut, grab Galehead, and then you just sort of continue along the Pemi loop, but just like doing the out and backs for all the mountains. So you get South Twin, North Twin, Zealand, all 3 of the bonds. Then you go down sort of towards the end of the Pemi loop, but you have to bushwhack a little bit and cross the Pemi River so that you can like go over towards the Hancocks. I forget what the trail is that connects that section to the Hancocks.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, so that was my second day. I hit the Hancocks and then kind of illegally camped in the parking lot at the bottom of the Osceolas.
It doesn't like affect the FKT at all or anything like that.
I don't know. No.
I mean, I'm not gonna make a big deal about it. I don't really give a shit, but
yeah, it's all right. It's on the internet now.
Well, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. And then, so that was, how many miles was that day?
That day was 43 or 42.
40. Okay, so
still I think it was 42. Yeah.
Jesus. And oh my god, 42 miles in the Whites of all places, dude. Oh, that's so crazy.
Yeah, and that was also the day with the most mountains. I think there were 10 mountains that day.
Jesus Christ.
Like, it's just a lot of vert.
Day 3, you start near the Osceolas, you said? Yeah,
so day 3 was pretty much just the Sandwich Range. So it was like
gotcha.
It was the Osceolas, Tecumseh, Tri-Pyramids, and then Whiteface, Passaconaway, and then just like a big trek over to like the Sawyer Pond area to set me up for Kerrigan the next morning.
Did you like have good weather for this? Like, I feel like if you're doing all these 4,000 footers, you must have had like fairly good weather, yeah?
Yeah, so the first 3 days were crystal clear, and then there was a possibility of thunderstorms rolling in on day 4, which is, thunderstorms is what majorly screwed me over on my first attempt, so I was just like deathly afraid of thunderstorms. So this is kind of the stupidest thing I did. Like, day 3 I did 40 miles, and then I I slept because I was afraid of the thunderstorms rolling in the next morning. I slept until about 11:30. Like, I got into camp at like 7, got set up and got into bed by 8:30 or so. Slept until about 11, woke back up, and then hiked another 41 miles to like get ahead of the thunderstorm.
So you just barely slept then.
Yeah, it was brutal.
How do you do that? Okay, are you the type of person where just in normal life you can you can go without sleeping that much? Like, you can only sleep for like 4 or 5 hours and then function like the next day, like go to class, take a test or whatever?
Not at all.
So then how the hell did you do this shit, man? That's crazy, because I'm not like that either. Like, I need my sleep, right? And so the idea of just sleeping for like 4 or 5 hours between 40-mile days, like, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, no, 4 or 5 hours was like on a good night. Like, that night it was about 2 hours. It was like, I was carrying a lot of caffeine, so that definitely helped out. Yeah, I was slow dripping myself about 4 or 5 cups of coffee's worth of caffeine like throughout the day.
Damn.
So that definitely helped out. But then that day, the thunderstorms actually never hit. So like when I got done those 41 miles, I was able to just like sleep for 9 hours before the next day. So that definitely helped.
Oh, dude, imagine if you didn't though. You could have beat it even more.
Yeah, I know. I should have just sucked it up.
No. I'm just messing with you.
Well, I also at the end of that day, I got to that campsite near the Mitzvah hut, and I did just to like finish off the day. I did the out and back to go get Jackson, and there's the clouds on Mount Washington were just so gnarly looking. I was like, well, it's like 5 o'clock at night. I just really don't want to do the Southern Presties right now.
There's nowhere else you could go anyway, so it's just
right.
It's just like whatever. Did you? Well, okay. I'm sure you planned out your route beforehand. Did you stray from your planned route at all when you were actually hiking?
I did on my first attempt.
Is that like a dumb question? Or are the FKT people listening and like, Kyle, obviously he didn't, like, is that a dumb question?
No, well, kind of the nice thing about the Diartissima is that there's no set route. Like, right. you can do it any way you want, like, as long as you hit all the peaks. So like, the only part I deviated on was that Andrew Drummond figured out this really nice, or he didn't figure it out, it's like a thing that people do, but there's you can do a bushwhack basically from near the top of Lafayette down like a slide path over to Owl's Head.
Oh, okay.
I just decided not to do that because I'm very inexperienced at bushwhacking.
Probably a smart choice, yeah.
Yeah, and it added on a few miles, but like I think they were easier miles because like I was stalking his Strava and they were like 50-minute miles, which just sounds miserable.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. So where are we now? So is that the end of day 4?
Oh yeah, so just people wondering about day 4. So day 4 was Kerrigan, and then the Shoal, from Kerrigan I took the Shoal Pond Trail over to the Zealand area. The Shoal Pond Trail is awful, by the way. I don't wish that trail on anyone. It's like, God, it was so disappointing because it's like one of the only flat sections of the Diartissima, and I was so looking forward to it, and it was just like a mud fest.
Oh jeez, yep, that'll happen.
And I saw 5 moose on it in the middle of the night.
I fucking read that today. What the fuck you saw 5 moose?
Well, so I saw 4 moose, and there was another large animal that like startled me in the middle of the night, and I like never actually laid eyes on it. But
that's crazy. I've never seen any moose in the Whites, or really anywhere besides Maine for that matter. So that's Jesus Christ.
I hadn't seen moose outside of Maine either.
That's crazy. Damn. So by the first one, you were probably really stoked or like nervous or whatever. But then by the 4th one, you're like, whatever, just another moose, like big deal.
Well, yeah, and they were just like, they were in the trail, either walking towards me or walking away from me. And I was like, man, you're just like, just get out of my way. I just want to hike.
Yeah, that's so funny. Like, dude. So the people that are like, oh, FKTs are like bad, like you gotta smell the roses. They're probably so pissed at hearing you say that. 'Cause they're like, you're seeing this beautiful moose and you're just wanting it to move so you can hike faster. Like that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I probably deserve it too. It's fine.
No, that's funny though. Okay, so then your last day.
So last day, no, fifth day. So fifth day.
Shoot, you're right. Okay, yeah, 5 days and whatever. Okay, so
yeah.
Fifth day.
Fifth day was the Southern Presidentials and the Wildcat. So, like the tricky part about the presidential area is that isolation is kind of in the middle of nowhere by itself. So, I went up and went up the presidentials until Washington, and then at Washington turned around and went back to get isolation. And then that was like, there was another like slight chance of thunderstorms that morning. But like by the time I got to isolation, it was clearing up and it was just gorgeous, which was like such a motivation booster because the weather for the rest of the trip just looked like perfect. So, hit isolation and then went down to the road, to Route 16. And then the rest of the day was hitting, Wildcat D, the Carters, and Mariah, and then finished up that day at the bottom of Madison.
Okay, I gotcha. Yep. And then the last day?
Last day was just Madison, Adams, and Jefferson, and then like a 12 mile road walk, I think, to the bottom of Wambeck. I was gonna
say, because those, Wambeck and Cabot are kind of isolated from the rest of the 4,000 footers. For those who don't know,
yeah, it's nice and awful in a way because like you can just cruise for those road walking miles, but road walking miles are also just tough on your feet. Mm-hmm. It's like
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but so got those road walking miles and then just Wambeck and Cabot.
And then you were done.
That was it.
How did you have anything left in the tank at all when you finished?
I didn't have any food left. So that was...
But you weren't like completely dead, destroyed, hallucinating, like completely gone?
No, God. So, like, if you read like the trip reports of like Bill Tidd on the way over from Wambeck to Cabot, he like hallucinated this guy who was like telling him that he had to hike in shuffle steps, and he like did it for like 5 miles.
And I feel like when I remember Philip talking about it too, it's like he sounded like he was pretty damn destroyed by the end, on his little final push for the for the single year grid. So
yeah, fortunately, I never had any of that kind of stuff. I definitely had like some. I've heard about like tunnel vision that you get during like ultra marathons and stuff, and I definitely got a little bit of that. But like, no, I was in pretty good. I was in a pretty good mental spot almost the whole time.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. Shit, it was good. That blows my mind. So
but physically, I was cooked. Like I could barely walk the next day.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. Not that I want to hear about you suffering, but just hearing you be like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. I just finished it." That makes me be like, "Fuck, dude, that's crazy." That's crazy. Let's see. So obviously, you must have been passing a lot of people every single day in the whites. What was it like? I think I asked I forget who I asked this. I asked someone this at some point, talking about FKTs or whatever. But what is it like passing people when you're just on a mission like that? Like, did anybody ever like catch on to what you were doing, or was it always just like, tip the hat, keep going, or whatever?
There were 2 people who recognized me from like when I had announced it online. And they were like, "Hey, you're the dude going after the Diartissima." But other than that, no one. I don't know. No one really.
Did you ever like tell anybody else too, or you just kind of like keep to yourself? Like,
no, I'm not. Again, like.
Not like a bragging way, but just like if you start talking to them or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah. If people ask what I was doing, but it's like the way I look at it is like, again, everyone's out there for their own reason. I'm not just going to be like, "Hey, I'm doing this because that's cool." Like everyone's, but Yeah, no, that's another nice thing about, like, because the Diatism was less of a speed competition and more of a how many miles you can hike a day competition, it's like, I could afford to just, like, stop and talk to someone for a few minutes if they want to talk, which was very nice.
Yeah, I feel like that might have been kind of nice for the morale, so.
Yeah.
Interesting. Fucking A, dude, that's so crazy. I wish we had more time, honestly. I feel like I probably should have asked you more questions about this at the beginning. I guess the last thing I'm kind of curious about, and this is, again, FKT noob question. There's people that are going to know the answer to this, so I apologize. But just keeping track of this, like, you must have had a GPS or some sort of tracking, yeah?
Yeah, so usually for multi-day things, they want you to carry, like, 2 forms of tracking.
Oh, 2
so,
forms.
Like,
wow. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're not too stringent about it, but, like, I carried a spot device, which sucks in the whites. Like, don't ever use a spot device to track yourself in the whites. They're just not good.
Interesting. Aren't those supposed to work, like, anywhere or whatever? They
don't do well with tree cover, apparently.
Oh, really? The tree cover? You had mentioned that in the article, now that I think about it. That's... Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about the spot devices, but that's a little bit surprising. You think that'd be a pretty basic fucking thing they'd try to account for? I don't know.
I truly don't know. But my main thing was, I just have a Garmin GPS watch, and so that was, like, my main form of tracking myself. So I just, like, uploaded everything to Strava every day.
Gotcha. Interesting, dude. We're getting towards the end here, so let's do a story. But before that, I just gotta say, like, congrats, dude. That's crazy. That blows my mind, honestly. And we'll have to do another one soon. I'm sure you'll do some other crazy fucking FKT or just some other crazy hike or whatever ends up happening. We'll have to do another one. But yeah, dude, story time. You got a story from the Appalachian Trail, yeah?
Yeah. So this is another one of those stories to scare people away from hitchhiking, even though hitchhiking is awesome.
Oh boy. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've had a good hitching story, so here we go.
Yeah, so Marion, Virginia is a weird town. I just put that out there to start. Refugee and I rolled into the partnership shelter. And, like, we started we started in May, so we started way after the bubble. So this was, like, the first shelter that we got to where there was, like, lots of partying going on. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the partnership shelter is the one that has, like, showers and, like, a double decker. Yeah, so it's, like, you could, like, live there. And people, like, were living there. They were ordering pizza and stuff. So, like, that was weird to us from the get-go. I know that's not weird to anyone else, but... like and then, like, this one person at the shelter was just very insistent that we had to go to what's the southern chain food place, Bojangles.
Bojangles, that's one of them. Yeah, there's
we
a lot
had
of them.
to. Yeah, we had to go to Bojangles and get the grits for some reason, and neither of us had ever had grits or really, like, knew what grits were. So we were like, all right, I guess let's fucking go to Bojangles and get grits. Like, our dumbasses just, like, bought grits and ate them, like, without mixing them in with anything. So that was just disgusting. So that was, like, the first thing of Marion, Virginia. And then while we were trying to hitch back out of Marion, Virginia, we were trying to get a hitch, and this guy who's filling up his car called us over to him, and it was like, hop in. I'll bring you guys to wherever you gotta go. So we get in, and after he's done filling up his car, he gets in. We didn't notice this until he started his car, but he blew into one of those breathalyzer things to start his car, and then
that's not a good sign.
but then turns around, looks at us, and goes, "I don't even drink." Like,
wait, what?
Like, what are you trying to say? So like, we just kind of ignored that comment for the time being. And then he asked us if we could make a quick pit stop at a grocery store so he could get orange juice for his mom. So we were like, yeah, okay, I guess. but he wanted to go to this other grocery store that was like out of the way because, well, so the gas station was right next to the Walmart where we got our resupply, and he wanted to go to the Food Lion or whatever. And he was very upset that we got our resupply at Walmart because, as he explained to us, Marion, Virginia is a big hotspot for the Illuminati. And
so this guy's just a whack job, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So,
Jesus Christ.
So we went to the Food Lion. We waited in the car, and we, like, debated just, like, leaving. But he seemed harmless enough. He wasn't a big guy, and, you know, Refugee is a 6'4" college athlete, so I wasn't like super worried.
Right.
So he gets back with his orange juice and starts taking us towards the post office. Actually, is where we need to go. And he started explaining to us like why he had a breathalyzer thing in his car, and he was explaining that that he's part of this group that's like trying to uncover the Illuminati that's running Marion, Virginia, and that when he was driving across the country for some reason, as soon as he crossed the Oklahoma border, the Oklahoma police stopped him and arrested him for drunk driving with like no evidence, and then held him in jail for like multiple months without it was
buddy.
very strange, very strange, but like The point is that the police in Oklahoma were also part of the Illuminati, and they just really wanted to get him for a crime he didn't commit. But you know, all things said and done, he brought us to the post office, and nothing happened. So,
but he was just fucking crazy.
he's just out of his mind.
Damn.
Like, I mean, I support him. Like, go after the Illuminati, man.
Someone's got to do it. Shit.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the Oklahoma PD aren't doing it either. So damn, that's crazy.
I don't know why the Oklahoma PD care about what's going on in Virginia, but it's
fucking
you know.
That's so funny. Well, I'm glad to hear. I thought it was going to be like a dangerous, you know, especially when you said the breathalyzer thing. I was like, oh shit, is he drunk driving? But then again, if he passed and turned the car on, then obviously I guess he couldn't have been drunk. I don't know. But
right. I'm
glad to hear it wasn't, you know, he wasn't hammered behind the wheel with a firearm like has been told on previous stories. I'm glad to hear he was just a fucking nut job who got you to your destination safely.
Yeah, for sure.
Will, thank you so much for doing this, dude. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and plug your Instagram or anything else you want to plug.
Sure, yeah. My Instagram is _will.peterson, and that's pretty much the only social media I have. So go follow that. I'll probably, you know, when I decide to do something, I'll probably announce it on there.
Cool beans. Yeah, and everybody should go read his articles on the Trek about his FKT too. You'll get some more details that we didn't have a chance to cover today. So, yeah. Thanks, man. And thanks to everybody listening. That's going to do it. Have a good one.